What up, what up? Welcome in everybody to Profit Picks. If you're new, we always start the show by being transparent. It is Monday. We didn't do any shows over the weekend, but I did bet. Won two wagers and lost one. So went in the right direction. We'll see if we can keep doing that this week. Veno, have you on a Monday this time around? How'd the weekend treat you? How you doing today?
I'm good, buddy. The NBA playoffs Saturday, Sunday were pretty good, 4-2. The biggest play I had was Minnesota on Saturday, and they rolled over Phoenix. Last night closed it out with a bad one though. I thought OKC and New Orleans over in the first half, but that did not get there. I mean, that was a very, very low scoring game. So that one didn't work, but overall, like I say, 4-2. We made about 4.5, 5 units of profit, so it was a good weekend.
Always good. 4-2. I'll take it every single day, every single week, however you want to call it. Taking a look in the comments here, seeing if we can get a winner for the day. I don't see one just yet. Guys giving out some picks though, ready to make some money. What up, James? Rick White asking if you know system for under is good to use in the playoffs. No, it's specifically for the regular season, not for the playoffs. Playoffs didn't have the same kind of results. Um, not many guesses. Knicks orange. Let's see. Vino in black. No, we didn't have a winner. So when we don't have a winner, we will double it up for the next time. So I think Rob, I mean, you never know. Could be on a random day like today, but usually Rob's on Thursday and Friday. The next time we have Rob on, we'll double it up and you'll get lunch and dinner. So usually when we double it up, it has to go to a member. So members look out. Make sure you guys get your guesses in for the next time we have Rob Vino on. So we got three games today, Mr. Vino.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen all of these teams play each other once. It's now game two. So let's see if we can find some ways to make money on it. First up, we have 501, 502, Orlando and Cleveland. Opened up Cleveland minus 5.5. Hasn't really moved. I do see fives actually. Five is the consensus number. Total open 203, sitting at 203.5. Injury report, nobody on there for the Magic. For the Cavs, they'll be without Dean Wade. The last game they played, I was kind of kicking myself for not being on that under. We know both of these teams are fine playing a slow tempo. The Magic, a team that doesn't shoot the three very well. I want to say they're around second worst, maybe third worst, something like that, as far as 3-point percentage. And we talked about the matchup. They like to score inside, and that's pretty hard to do when you have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley on the other side. So it wasn't only them. Cleveland was low scoring too. I'm not sure that we see a different kind of game. I mean, the market did pull this one even lower, 203.5. But looking at some of these quotes here, Rob, I'll focus on this one from the Orlando coach. He says, Cleveland does a great job of packing the paint in, and they do a great job of flying at shots. But a big portion of this is us continuing to be willing to step into those shots with confidence, which our team will continue to do. That's the work that we put in and will continue to put in. Doesn't sound like he's going to change a whole lot. And if you come out there with the same approach, I don't know how you're going to get different results. Very young team. Looked like they weren't ready to start the game. I think it's another under game, and I would not be betting on Orlando. How do you feel about it?
I tried to find a way to bet Orlando Skee just because of playoff zigzag and kind of desperation mode. You always want to get a split if you're the road team, but it's hard to do. It's really hard to do. You mentioned that we talked about the matchup, right? And for me, it's always about the opposing front line against Orlando, and Cleveland wins the boards by 14 the other day, 54-40. And more importantly, 44 defensive rebounds. So for Orlando, it's kind of one and done. If you go through that box score and you eliminate Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero, who shot 50% from the field, the rest of that starting lineup goes 7 of 30. The first four guys off their bench went 1 for 16. So that's 8 for 46 out of 7 different guys for Orlando. They just, I mean, I talk about them one way. They need to have a frontline advantage. You talk about them another way. They can't shoot from the perimeter, and you combine those together against this opponent. It's tough. It's just tough. It's not like Cleveland shot lights out either. And they didn't get a lot of second chance points, even though they controlled the boards. They didn't win second chance points. And for what it's worth, they only shot 26.7% from three. What if they shoot better tonight? So it's hard to make that case for Orlando at the same price. I think that Cleveland's bound to shoot a little bit better. I don't know that the rebounding stuff will go any different way. From the quote you just read, it's obvious. You might want to think, at least I tried to think this morning, what if Orlando tried to get out and transition a little more, but they're not a transition team. And tell you the truth, Skee, if they wanted to play transition, I think Cleveland would do better in that against them. So there's not a lot of advantages here that I can see without giving them home floor for Orlando. Maybe when they get home for game 3, it's a little bit different. But here, I'd have to agree with you. I mean, my look is towards Cleveland minus the short price to go up 2-0 in the series, and then we'll see what happens when they get back. I meant to look at the series prices for all of these, now that they're one game in. Not that this one would be a bettable one in my mind.
Like $4, I believe.
Yeah, it's awfully steep. And I don't think you want the underdog side here because it's hard to make the case that they could win 4 times in this series.
Yeah, Magic are plus 320 right now. Cavaliers are minus 400. Not interested in jumping in on either one of those prices personally. I thought about we're a little bit late on Cavs minus 1.5 games, so we'll just have to, I don't know. We'll have to do that one maybe game by game, see if Orlando can punch back, and then we can jump in. What up, Debbie Cap? Nice to see you in the building. Let's move it on over to another game here. We have Philly and New York opened up Knicks minus 4.5. The consensus is minus 6 right now. Total has dropped 4.5 points, dropping even lower at some shops. 205 is the consensus, though. For Philly, I believe Maxey was not present at shoot around. Let me see Joel Embiid here. Embiid truly questionable, but I think they say he's gonna, play again in this one. Milton out, Covington out. Knicks look like they're pretty healthy over there. The Knicks were able to win that game with their starters playing pretty terrible. I mean, you can say it's a good game plan defensively from the 76ers, but Jalen Brunson was bad in that last game. And I'm not expecting him to have multiple poor performances like that. The bench, like I said, lifted him up. McBride was awesome. If you tell me, I should look it up here. If you tell me Brunson played like that and they won by 7, and Embiid, tweaked his knee a little bit, I can only think towards going with the Knicks. Somebody asked about the if you know, and if that translates in playoffs. For totals, it does not. But I think my personal opinion is, and this total continues to drop lower as we're talking. I see 203.5 popping up. But I tend to think when I see a team win, like they just won at home and the second game is at home, and the line is higher than that first game, the odds makers that I'm paying attention to. I think that translates more than the totals for playoffs. So Knicks maybe big favorites for a reason. I'm already cashed on them for game 1. I have them in the series. Not sure that I want to take them again, but it's the only way I would bet. Either Knicks or the under. What do you think, Veno?
Well, I think maybe we're seeing these movements because of either Maxey or Embiid. I would guess more towards Maxey because his is listed as illness, which if he's sick with a virus, a flu or a cold or something, and running a fever, it could be difficult for him to get out there tonight. And, unless you're Michael Jordan with the high temperature game and dropping what he dropped that day, I think it would be difficult if they don't have Maxey here. Embiid obviously played the perimeter for the remainder of the game after he got hurt on that dunk, right? I don't remember seeing him go inside very much anymore. Shot 12 free throws in that game, scored 29 points. I mean, when he was playing healthy, or at least as close to healthy as he can be, he was a force in that particular game. I'm going to go back and just make a general statement here, Skee, so we can follow this through with all of these games, because it's always important in the playoffs. And what it is, it's just a general rule of thumb that we use as handicappers and bettors, that the bench players, the role players, usually give you more at home than they do on the road, right? Those guys show up at home. And I'm just going to backtrack real quick here to Cleveland, whose bench, Karis LeVert, Niang, Okoro, and Sam Merrill went 4 for 19 in that first game. It barely shot 20% from the floor. So if the homestanding bench is going to plays better at home, then you'd expect those guys in that game to play better. For the Knicks, their bench did come through to compensate for Jalen Brunson's bad game. I mean, Deuce McBride, 7 of 12 from the floor. Bogdanovich had 3 threes. Combined, those guys had 8 threes, and Mitchell Robinson played pretty good defense. So the Knicks reserves played well at home. Philly's reserves on the road did not. This is difficult because you could make a case for each side, but if there's no Maxey, then I don't want any part of the Sixers. Either one of those guys, they have to have them both, Maxey and Embiid, and they have to have them both playing well to be any good. I think much like what New Orleans did to Oklahoma City last night, perimeter length bothers the Knicks a little bit with their shots, and maybe that's why Brunson played poorly. But I would expect him to play better, and I'm just not sure I want to lay 6. But if one of those guys isn't playing, maybe I would. The under would make some sense. Philadelphia just not as good a scoring team. Go back and look at some of those games they played without Embiid, where they were scoring 88, 94.
Mm-hmm.
They just can't score without him. So
he might be out there though, but without Maxey, that slows the pace. I mean, if Maxey misses, that's a big loss.
Yeah, because then you have Kyle Lowry running the show, right? And it does get pretty slow and mucked up. So I don't know. The Knicks are always going to be pretty good on the defensive side. 23 offensive rebounds. That's huge for the New York Knicks. And they do have the 2 towers in Hartenstein and Robinson to at least be semi-effective against Joel. If I had to look right now, Skee, I'd probably look at the under. Slow pace, maybe no Maxey. But I think I'll wait and see what the injury report shows us later on.
I would be looking towards under too. And I don't do this often, Rob, but there's somebody I have to address in the chat.
Uh-oh.
And I don't like to talk about myself too much either, but I have to right now. Joshua Alexander, you guys have to stop thinking what happens in one game will happen in the next. You have to see the outliers in the game and bet against that. Number 1. Oh, this comment too. Magic played bad just as OKC did, just as Dallas did with a bunch of players who never played in playoffs. Learn how to read the games. Learn how to read the games, huh? And one last one. Playoffs are about the players. If a good shooter went 1 for 9 in the following game, you want to bet on them. So Joshua Alexander, what I want to say to you is, I've been doing this a very long time. I've only been unprofitable in the NBA 1 year. Last year in the playoffs, I made 134 units. Do you think I don't know how to read games and see how the games are going? That would be ridiculous. If you think you can do better, I would love to see it. If you think we don't know what we're doing, how about you come do a show and teach everybody how to bet on basketball games and be profitable doing it? How about that, Joshua Alexander? And Rob, you've been here with me just doing very well in NBA as well every single year. I don't have your numbers, but for somebody to come into the chat and say that we don't know how to read the games is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what we've said here that would lead somebody to go ahead and make those comments. Again, I don't know anybody who's listened to me, even for 2 seconds, that wouldn't think that I am a guy who believes in bounce back. If a guy shoots 1 for 9, he's a very good player. I'm usually that guy who's right on him the next game. Learn how to read games. For myself, I've been reading games since 1992. So, I mean, I've probably been betting basketball longer than Joshua Alexander has existed. I don't want to get too rough, but we know what we're doing here. We're just trying to give you all the facts that surround these games. That's all we're doing. When we're quoting numbers, we're giving you facts. End of story. You make up your own mind what you want to do with them. And if you disagree with them, that's fine. That's what the bookmaker wants. The bookmaker wants me to bet one way and Joshua Alexander to bet another way. The bookmaker makes a profit. But I do think we're not trying to steer anybody crooked. We're just trying to give you what's known about the game. And I think the insight that we bring, checking 99% of the chat every single day. I think it's valuable.
And I'll put this up here. He says, brother, I wasn't talking to you. I was speaking in general. It wasn't directed at you at all. I was giving game, that's all. And he says he went 8-2 over the weekend, doing very well. He wasn't coming at us in no way. I interpreted what he said completely wrong. Well, my bad, I guess, if I interpreted that wrong. And I'm not shitting on Joshua Alexander. All I'm saying is we know what we're doing up here. That's it. All right, last game on the slate, we have Lakers and Nuggets. Almost had 2 games on the slate to talk about today, but we'll talk about this one. Opened up Nuggets -7 and still -7 pretty much across the board. Total open 223.5 and looks like 224. Injury report. Nobody on there for the Nuggets. Christian Wood, Vanderbilt, Reddish remain out. Usual suspects, LeBron and AD are game time decision. What I'll say is, man, Rob, once again, Lakers get a lead. They look like they're going to be able to do something and trick it off versus Denver once again. AD, I got to start off by just giving him credit. He definitely showed up. He's been showing up all year long. He's played all the games. For as much slack as AD gets, nothing this season, nothing yesterday was Anthony Davis' fault. I'll just say that. And he should also be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. Guys just must not like him in the NBA for him not even, to get that. LeBron, he also did a lot of the heavy lifting. The other guys didn't do a whole lot. D'Angelo Russell, for as good as he's been playing the last couple months or since around that trade deadline, he looked just like, or he looked slightly better, but he still looked bad. He looked like D'Lo from last year against Denver. He was out there foul hunting or however you want to call it, and it wasn't productive. Reeves wasn't great either. So the Lakers desperately need the other guys to play better. Something that stood out to me, Rob. I cashed thank to LeBron on that half court or logo shot in the half.
Thank you.
That was awesome. I literally jumped off the couch and was running around.
It was worthy. Yep.
LeBron for my money. So the thing that I noticed is, and what I was breaking down is, the Lakers, the reason they have been better down the season is they run organized offense. They're running plays. They're running sets. When they do that, you get the great offensive numbers from the past 2 months. When they stop, it looks like the second half in that game. Just numbers to back that up from what we saw in the game. Denver, you're going to get, we always talk about for years how efficient their offense is, no matter how slow they play, right, Rob?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Denver's organized offense percentage by quarter. Quarter 1, 68%. Quarter 2, 68%. Quarter 3, 67. Quarter 4, 67. The Lakers. Quarter 1, 67%. Quarter 2, 55%. Quarter 3, 45%. Quarter 4, 39%. They just stopped running their sets, stopped running their actions, and it translated. They scored 13 or 18 points in the third quarter, 25 points in the fourth. Only thing I'll say is, and I don't like this guy, I really don't, but Darvin Ham said he didn't want to show too much in-game adjustments because they could use them in the next game. And I get it, because we had a game like that where he did put Rui on Joker, and it gave us a little bit of comeback last year, but we didn't quite get the win, and that adjustment is kind of out the window for the next game because Denver they've already seen it. So I understand, but Lakers need to run an organized offense is what I'm saying. So with that said, what he said makes me believe that they'll come with a few adjustments in this one. They'll continue to come out the gate running their organized offense. We know Denver will. And Denver, they shot poor to start that game. And we still made it over that first half total. So if I'm betting this one, I'll be right back to the well with the first half over. You're getting pretty much the same number, 115. Is there any reason to bet the full game over the first half? Or how do you see this one, Veno?
This one was difficult because the first half total is the same, 115. Game total is actually probably the same. I know it got bet up to about 227 in some spots by the time it tipped off. But the second half went dry. Just some numbers here, Skee, really quick. Darvin Ham didn't use the bench at all. It's like he didn't trust anybody. When you look at almost 41 minutes for LeBron, 44 and a half for Anthony Davis, 41 minutes for D'Angelo Russell, and off of the bench, only Dinwiddie and Prince played double-digit minutes, and Vincent and Hayes got 7 and 4. So if he's going to go iron 5, I think that the altitude plays a part. I really do. The Lakers were there until the third quarter is when they faded, right? That 14-point third quarter advantage for the Nuggets, 32-18, basically won the game, and the Nuggets played them even in the fourth, and they cruised home. But for the Lakers, can it get any better? They shot 49.4 from the field and lost. They just didn't get – this is the number really that wins the game for Denver. Denver had 102 shot opportunities, 102 field goal attempts, Lakers 79. So Lakers made a bunch, but they're minus 23 in attempts. And if you're going to give the Nuggets 23 more shots than you get, you're not going to beat them, and you're probably not going to come within 7. So something's got to give here for LA. I mean, in many ways, they played a really good game. And in other ways, I can see if they don't get any bench help, and if they give up that many more shot opportunities to Denver, I don't know that they can close second half. I would like to bet Lakers first half here, thinking that they're, the desperate team. They want to get the split, and the first half would be the best way to approach them in an altitude setting. But maybe Denver, when I started thinking about it, Michael Malone, the one gripe he might have with his team is we need to get off to a better start. And like you said, they didn't get off to a good start last game. So a lot of back and forth here in my mind. I would love to see Ham get a few more minutes out of that bench and maybe try and go a little more transition offense against this team, but I don't know that he will. So right now I haven't played. I'd like to be on some form of over, but I don't know that I can get there. I think it's just priced a little bit too high.
Well, let me ask you this, Rob. Jamal Murray couldn't hit anything yesterday, right? Aaron Gordon, for as much as he, helps the defense is good defensively, he's big for their offense too. And he had 2 quick fouls in that game. So maybe that messed up, Denver's start to the game and had them start a little bit slower. I think we see a lot better offensive performance from Denver in the beginning of the game. And I think we see pace. Anthony Davis, before the series started, said that the Lakers need to I wish I had the exact quote here. He pretty much was saying that they need to try to get stops, limit them to one shot, and get out and run. And they were doing that for the first half. The second half, they kind of just let the rope go. So we know Denver, kind of the same team, they get a stop, and you'll see Joker even immediately start to push the ball up the court. And I think it's up tempo. I think first half over is the play here.
And I think I could build on that case for you a little bit here, Skee, just with some numbers. I mean, if Denver scores 57 in the first half the other day and got off to such a slow start, then, I mean, common sense would tell you that if they shoot any better, they'll probably get to 60. And if the Lakers, like I said, I think they're a better first half team in that altitude, especially if they're going to go limited bench. And if they transition, then that 115 comes into play again. And I think Boofer was the guy who gave us the exact numbers last show on how good these teams are as far as over in the first half is concerned, which basically put me over the edge and got me to that play. And it worked out. It got to 117. We needed a little help, but maybe you're right. Maybe we don't need that half-court shot to get us over 115 tonight.
All right. So we're feeling the same way here. Man, Lakers are like plus 575 to win this series now. 520. Some money came in, I guess, on the Lakers to bounce back. Nuggets, $7 if you like them to win. I want to ask you a quick question here, Rob. There are 3 games that we're not really going to talk about today just because they go tomorrow. But we watched all the game ones. Was there anything out of the other 3 games that stood out the most to you? Mavs, Clippers, Pacers, Bucks, Suns, T-Wolves.
Well, where Mavs Clippers are concerned, we just talked about a team that started slow in Denver. I don't think there's any way Dallas shoots as miserably as they did in game one. They just look like they must have read the press clippings and must have saw everybody betting Dallas and figured we got this game locked because they scored 30 points in the first half. That's
Pathetic.
crazy. I mean, they wound up getting 67 in the second half. And, we can't have, I don't think it'll happen again, but this happens every single year. And every year they keep saying he gets more mature, he gets more mature, he gets more mature. But Luka's out there throwing temper tantrums again in the third quarter. And I'll go back to, my youngest, not to ramble too much here, but my youngest is a huge Dallas Mavericks fan. I'm texting back and forth with him. Dallas gets it under 20 in the third quarter. And in the NBA, when you get it under 20, that's reasonable at that point. And they get a rebound and they come up the floor. Luka doesn't look at anybody, pulls up from about 28 feet and clanks a three-pointer. The other side comes down and they miss. Get it back. Kyrie gets the ball and Kyrie drives to the hole and scores. Okay, so now you got 17 and the other side comes down and they miss again. And it's almost like Luka, I don't know what it was. And I know he's not this way with Kyrie, but it looked like he needed to say, this is my team. He immediately demands the ball off the rebound, goes 1-on-3, misses, has a hissy fit, and Kid has to pull him. And I'm thinking, dude, that you were just talking about organized offense. That's the time to have some organized offense. You could put some heat on the other side. They did climb close. I think Dallas really, really underachieved in game one. So I'd look that way. And I think what we were talking about the other day when we talked about Minnesota as being a side, and I thought Minnesota would be a good series side. That season series, you could throw that in the garbage. Minnesota, when they're right, and I know they're not on the road yet, but Anthony Edwards is the best player on the floor. I don't care who Durant, Beal, and Booker are. It doesn't matter to me. And defensively, they can shut you down. I don't know that Minnesota, I don't know that game gets any, well, it could get closer, but what I'm trying to say is I don't think you should be playing Phoenix tomorrow on the road. Maybe when they get back home, but to me, it looks like Minnesota in all aspects, and we described a lot of them the other day. I think they're the better side.
Well, I agree with a lot of what you said, especially on that Minnesota. It did look like, definitely a mismatch. And I mean, I already knew Anthony Edwards, you knew too, but it's no surprise that he looked the way that he looked in that game. I keep saying, and I hate comparing anybody to this player just because of who he is, but he's the one person in the NBA who I feel like has that talent, that skill, and has that that will to win that one of my favorite players in the Lakers jersey had. So I like seeing that dog in Anthony Edwards, and he can absolutely will his team to a win. As far as what you said about the Mavericks, I feel like, I mean, usually we don't see this in the playoffs, but maybe they just said no Kawhi and just like, oh, this game is easy. We're just going to come out here and do whatever. Maybe that. Maybe it's Luka and Kyrie didn't play the last couple games. They were a little bit rusty coming out there. Also, I feel like more in the first half, like it looked like there was no space almost for the Mavericks. Every drive, Zubac was there, I feel like. And in the second half, I want to say maybe when they had Kleba out there a little bit more, it looked like the spacing improved. And that's when they started to make a little bit of a push or run. Maybe, you could say the Clippers let their foot off the gas. But to me, it looked like Dallas started to get a little bit more comfortable as the game went on. And maybe we'll see that roll over into the next game. I would say, just my first thought is, I would expect Dallas to have a much better start to the game tomorrow than what we saw yesterday. So good stuff. BJ disagrees. We were talking about this before. He says Mavs overrated. Clippers win the series. We shall see. Clippers ahead 1-0 right now. Who do you think wins the series, Rob?
I'll say this real quick. Couple of thoughts if I was coaching the team. It looked to me, because Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively were in their first playoff games ever, they didn't understand the physical nature of playoffs, right? It looked like Zubac kind of took them to school physically. And secondly, when Dallas has their speed and athleticism out there. I think they should run. I mean, Derek Jones Jr. should be out there a little bit more. Josh Green played really well, should be out there a little bit more. And to your point, if they went small with Maxi Kleba, they could run a little bit more. James Harden, we've seen this act before, right? Really big first game. And then he tells the whole world, I can score with the best of them. He probably scores 11 points next game. So I think you might see a little disappearing act there from him. I think Denver has some things to work out, but they're workable, and maybe Jason Kidd will find solutions.
I can't remember what series it was, but maybe it was a Mavs versus Clippers. I don't know. It was a Mavs versus somebody. And Mavs were down in the series, and they made some great adjustments, and they came back. I want to say they won. If not, they pushed it to 7 games. But I seen some stuff from. You remember what series it is?
I think I think it might have been the series they played against Utah without Luka, and they came back and beat Utah that year.
Yes,
with Jalen Brunson and that squad, and moved on to the next round. I think they might have beat LA the next round, but I think that's a series you're talking about where they adjusted, and that's the year Tony Finn was in love with Utah.
Oh, I definitely remember that. So that was what I was talking about. So I do think Jason Kidd will make some adjustments. I do think everybody will play a little bit better for the Mavs. We'll see how that series goes on. Last thing I'll say is, before the series, I said this. BJ says Harden smoked them boys. I said the longer the series goes on, the more you cannot trust James Harden. I've seen it time and time again. He looks great in game 1. By game 5, you're like, who the hell is that out there with the beard playing basketball? So don't get too excited just because of a one game. All right, good stuff on these games here today, Rob. We talked about them for about a little bit more than 30 minutes. We even talked a little bit about the teams tomorrow. So now it is about that time where I ask you if there's anything you would like to promote. And also, maybe there's something you like a little bit more than the rest for a best bet on the show.
Well, let's start with the promotion, which is for wagertalk.com. For those of you who are not currently members, just stop by the website, wagertalk.com, drop your email address. You'll get instant free access to all the video content, all the shows that we do video-wise, all the written content, all the free plays that we do as handicappers each and every day. And you get it all for free, wagertalk.com, just by dropping your email address. If you are interested in selection packages that we release for clients, you can always get mine on my homepage at wagertalk.com, Rob Veno at wagertalk.com. And let's move to best bets, Skee. Well, let's be honest, because we're always honest on this show, that I didn't play anything as of yet other than the Cavaliers. So I'll have to use that as the best bet here. I think the Cavaliers were the right side. We talked about the reasons why. I tried every which way this morning to come to a conclusion that would lead me to Orlando to get a split, but I don't think they can. I think Cleveland's, I said this earlier, their role players played as lousy as you could at home. I expect a boost. And their three-point shooting was terrible at home. I expect a boost. And if I get both of those to go with the rebounding and the interior defense, then I think it's enough to win by 6 points here. So give me Cleveland best bet for the show.
Good stuff from Mr. Rob Veno there. Before I get, and also both his profile and my profile for Wager Talk are in the description to this video. Before I give my best bet, I will address another comment, and I will also shout out some of these best bets that you guys are sharing. So last but not least, this guy is over here still going back and forth in the chat. And let's see if I can find this comment. My bad. But I just feel like I should say something. One more thing. It's just Kyle and Josh going back and forth in the chat. He says, brother, I live in Vegas. I've been betting for years. This podcast industry on sports bets is new for people like you who are here. Sharp bettors don't disclose their bets, and they don't do shows. A couple things here about this, Josh. Number one, personally, I've been betting before I bet for a living. Like, I quit my job and made bets before I even came on a screen and did this. Number two, I'm not a part of the new industry. I've been doing this when it was the old industry. I'm an OG in the sports betting thing. Number three, I'm not going to say the name of the book, but a book that I hang out at quite frequently. I know a lot of people there, as I should. I know the people behind the counter. I know the people who run the entire sports book. I know all of them. And you know what they've told me? Because I inquired about why when I go to make a bet, I go to make a bet on NBA. And when I go up there and place my wager, or tell them what I want to place my wager, I get a pause. And I'm like, well, what's going on? What's going on here? They usually accept it, but they just want to know what I'm betting. And the guys behind the counter came out and said that I'm listed as a sharp at that book. So for you to say the real sharp bettors do not give out picks, they don't do YouTube, it's just wrong. It's incorrect information. You do not know what you were talking about. So I just want to throw that out there. Just you can't listen to what everybody's saying. I'm not shitting on you, Joshua Alexander, but I'm saying what you are saying today is not correct information. So everybody disregard what he's saying there. If you go and ask anybody behind the counter, they will tell you. There are a lot of YouTube cappers who are also sharp bettors. A couple best bets from the. Go ahead.
You got to give me 30 seconds here for and again, Joshua, we're not coming at you, but as you watch this show and you see me on the screen, all you got to do is look over both of my shoulders. When people's names are on marquees at the Stardust Hotel, and you're one of 16 handicappers invited into a national contest to handicap. You're one of the 16 most elite handicappers. I was there twice. So I give out best bets, pal. I mean, we bet. We're recognized in the sports industry. I get what you're talking about because it frustrates me a little bit. Some of the new wave of first quarter rebound bettors and these people that are on giving out different type of stuff. It doesn't necessarily agree to my liking of sports betting, but honest to God, all you got to do is look over my shoulder and you'll know we're giving out best bets here and we're still respected sports bettors and handicappers. So Skee's right. That's bad info, at least for this show. I'm not going to speak for every other show. I'll speak for the Wager Talk people that I'm associated with, and I'll speak for myself appearing on Skee's show. That's not correct. There's a million other shows you could relate what you're saying to, but this ain't one of them.
There you go. And the last thing you said, 100%. There's a million other shows you can say that about, but this is not one of them. So on that note, my best bet for the show, and I'll be honest with you guys. This is not going to be a huge play for me, but it is going to be a play that's in my pocket. I don't give you guys plays I don't bet. We're going to go back to the well. Lakers, Denver. I think we get that organized offense from LA once again in that first half. Again, with maybe some adjustments. Denver, they're not going to shoot as poor as they did to start that game. And I think combination of those things, as well as what Anthony Davis has said, Lakers are better with pace, et cetera, et cetera. Over 115 in the first half is the direction I would like to go. That's where I'll have my money tonight. So appreciate all you guys in the chat. Absolute best chat in the game. Even when I go back and forth with people in the chat, it's all love. I love all you guys. A lot of great info being shared. So just always want to let you guys know we appreciate you. Best of luck on all your action. Good luck if you tell. I will be back here tomorrow. We'll see. Veno will be on throughout the week. But as long as you subscribe, you'll know when the show is live. You'll know who's on. And we'll catch you guys later. Peace.